So there's kind of one, oh yeah. I'm just saying that they're moving around enough that I'm not sure if this guy is 12 or 11. But this is literally the only place in the world that you can see albatrosses right next to the trail, where you're not limited by where you can go. Obviously you have to stay on the marked trails, that's for your safety as well as that of the birds. But it's important to cherish this opportunity to actually see these birds in the wild in their native habitat. My name is Lindsay Young. I'm the Executive Director of Pacific Rim Conservation, and we've been working at Kaena Point for the last 14 years. So Hawaii is one of the most spectacular seabird colonies anywhere in the world, really, and in our main islands they used to cover the ground from Makai all the way up to Mauka. But now in the inhabited Hawaiian Islands, they're mainly restricted to the offshore islands. So what makes Kaena Point special is that this is one of the only what we call high island seabird colonies in Hawaii, in that this area will withstand sea level change. So to have native seabirds that have found this place on their own, that are protected from predators and also available to the public to come and see for themselves, is really important not only to the long-term survival of those species, but also to the people of Hawaii. Kaena Point has changed a lot in the last 14 years that I've worked here, and especially in the last 25 years since it was created as a NAR. And the really interesting thing most people don't realize that this is not one of the last coastal strand ecosystems that's left. It's actually one of the first restored ones, and I think that's really important because a lot of people put in a lot of effort to make it this way. It wasn't just something that was protected because it came like this. So Eric, it's against this bush. So albatrosses and shearwaters did not evolve with any mammalian predators. Anything furry, they have no concept of what we are. So these are kind of the bands. They have a federal metal band that is 9 digits long, very similar to a social security number, and each bird has a different one. And then each island has its own set of colors. So these are our Oahu bands. And this is what we look at through binoculars to recite individuals. And we band with 2 different bands in case one falls off during the course of the bird's lifetime. We still know who that individual is. And don't worry, the cracking noise you hear is the metal on the band. It's not the bird's leg. They don't know that people or predators can harm them, which is why we have to work to protect them. And it makes them great to observe. So oftentimes birds that have never had human interaction will just sit nearby. The thing to keep in mind, especially with chicks, if they're nesting close to the trail, is even though they don't appear to react, it's kind of the same thing if you're going to the doctor's office for a big procedure. You might look calm on the outside, but you can be freaking out on the inside, and it's actually the same with these animals. We know that their stress hormones do go through the roof, so we ask that if there is a bird next to the trail that you observe it respectfully for a little bit of time and then move away to allow it to rest peacefully. The seabirds started nesting here in 1992 when off-road vehicles were banned, and albatross went from 0 to about 400 individuals that we see today. And the shearwaters have actually been the most spectacular. They have gone from no nesting pairs to over 5,000 nesting pairs, more than 10,000 individuals. So the response that we've seen from the habitat restoration, from the predator management, has been extraordinary.
Kaena Point is located on the western tip of the island of Oahu. It's at the very tip of the Waianae mountain range, and it's 3 miles from any paved road. The fenced area of Kaena is about 50 acres, and the natural area reserve is mostly contained within that acreage. My name is Marigold Zoll. I'm the Oahu District Forestry and Wildlife Manager. It is very fragile, and people can have a really big impact unintentionally, and so being careful about where you walk so you don't collapse some of the shearwater burrows or disturb the monk seals that are resting here, or bring invasive plants, especially bringing dogs. Dogs really can do a lot of damage and set us back years in our management if they're allowed to run free and kill the ground nesting birds that are here. The ground nesting birds are really naive to humans and dogs and cats and rats, and so they don't know how to respond, and they just pretty much sit there.
Yeah, birds don't sweat, so they can either pant, or with seabirds that have big webbed feet, there's a lot of blood vessels in the webbing, and they hold it up into the wind.
It takes considerable effort to get out here, and so most of the people who come out to this place come intentionally because they want to see it and they really want to learn about it more. They're really glad that we're protecting this place, and they're just really thrilled to be able to see birds up close and seals up close, and it's really a positive, great experience to be involved in a public place in conservation. Ka'ena Point has a very rich cultural history, and it has places that are recognized on the National Historic Registry. 5 places, in fact, in this location, and that's a lot for a specific location. It has stories about gods that traveled here from Hawaii Island to Kauai and back to Hawaii Island who stopped here. It's got links to spiritual realms of Hawaiian religion and that are linked to the northwestern Hawaiian Islands. It's just a very important place for the history of Hawaiians and the living practice of the Hawaiian culture. When Ka'ena Point was first designated as a natural area reserve, it was recognized as a unique place at the time, but it didn't have a lot of the features that it has now. And through our management efforts, combining federal partners, private partners, grants, and just volunteers in the public, we've really been able to come together to bring back this place in the glory of its former time.